But Billy, listen, Baker Mayfield, I think, has had a pretty good year. Okay. In fact, some people have said, and this is going back to that article regarding the rankings, quarterback rankings, is that he's having a career renaissance, according to some people. Okay. That has led some people the past couple of weeks to suggest the idea that Baker Mayfield could possibly be up there for comeback player of the year, right? That is a distinct possibility. I want your initial thoughts and opinions on that idea based on where Baker Mayfield is this year versus where he was last year, and if he does have a chance of winning an award like that. What do you think?
I think if this were any other year, I think Baker Mayfield would probably be a favorite, heavily in contention for the award, just because of the cachet that his name carries. People know who he is. He's going to be on the tips of the tongues of the people who are going to put that decision forward. But I feel like it's a foregone conclusion. The award, and deservedly so, has to go to Damar Hamlin. I don't think that Baker Mayfield really has a chance just because Damar Hamlin has done something that nobody's really going to ever, hopefully, ever touch. It's a once in a lifetime moment, and I think the NFL, that's where it's going to go. In terms of on the field play, yeah, I think Baker Mayfield is definitely deserving of the award. If they gave it to him, it would be, an earned accomplishment, but I just think he doesn't really have that much of a shot because of the story of Damar Hamlin.
I do agree with you on that. I think that just given I think given what it is. And look, even last year, Geno Smith won comeback player of the year, and he had a career renaissance, much like Baker Mayfield. He had 4,282 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. It is, I don't know, like I heard people say that at the beginning of the year, right? For Damar Hamlin to win comeback player of the year. I haven't heard it as much lately. And like you said, I don't know if it's because it is a foregone conclusion, essentially, in a lot of people's minds. I don't know if Damar Hamlin's going to be on the voting. I mean, I don't even know if they're going to have voting for it, right? I don't know how the NFL wants to treat that award this year. It's going to be interesting. And I do see some people saying in the chat, like, hey, he only played 5 snaps this year and stuff like that. It is literally a comeback. Like, it is literally a
Yeah.
comeback for Damar Hamlin, coming back from an incredibly scary, dangerous situation for him, right? And I don't want to take away from that at all, which is why, even though we haven't heard from it, and I do understand where people are coming from regarding that, I still feel like it's probably going to be Damar Hamlin. But if it was any other year, I would say
Yeah.
why not Baker, right?
Yeah.
I I,
Absolutely.
I think that's a fair thing to say because you look at the stats. This has been, and just to dive deeper into that, Billy, like this has been a career renaissance for Baker. Like this was Baker's last chance,
Yes.
and I think everybody would admit that to say, "Hey, man, you're 28 years old." Former number one overall pick. You got booted out of Cleveland for Deshaun Watson. It's not going great for Cleveland. You went to the Carolina Panthers. You didn't even last a full season there. You went to the LA Rams for a month. You did some good things there, but then what happens now is kind of the question. Kind of talk about that for a second, Billy. Just kind of his comeback and his from where he was a calendar year ago to where he is now.
Yeah, well, Baker Mayfield, if this season doesn't happen and it doesn't go as well as it's going, or even just if Kyle Trask beats him out in the preseason, Baker Mayfield's career follows the trajectory of Mitchell Trubisky, of Jameis Winston or Sam Darnold, a high draft pick, high round draft pick that ultimately fizzles and becomes a backup. And I think Baker Mayfield he was dangerously close to that reality. I don't think there were a lot of teams that were going to give him a legitimate opportunity to play this year until the Bucs stepped up. And we've talked about it many times, he has seized that opportunity. And yeah, like you said, any other year. Baker Mayfield is absolutely deserving of this award because he did turn around his entire career. Because now I don't think it's far-fetched. I know the Bucs, we're talking about the Bucs, just as if it's a foregone conclusion. I think there will be other teams that show at least relative interest in Baker this offseason. I don't think that the Buccaneers are going to be standing at the front of the line by themselves with their hands raised like pick us, pick us, pick us. I think there will be other teams who maybe would want to look at Baker, at least consider it and talk about how much he's potentially going to make. It'll at least be an option for them. And that's something that I don't think was the case last offseason. So yes, it's a complete career turnaround for Baker for sure.
One thing I want to compare it to is a guy who had a different path, right? But he won this award the year he came in. That was Ryan Tannehill.
Mm,
He had to jump in as the starter in 2019. I think it was after Mariota got hurt, something along those lines. He went 7-3. Then he won 11 games the next year. Then he won 12 in 2021, posting up pretty decent numbers. This is a good comparison because Tannehill was he spent first 6 years in Miami, was dumped after the 2018 season, was a backup in 2019, had to sub in due to injury, and he ended up being a starter for the next 4+ years. Let's see, essentially one, two, three more years following that year he came in. You could see a similar thing with Baker, and it
yeah.
would not surprise me. Would you agree with that, Billy?
Good comparison too. Tannehill, first round pick, had, moderate success in Miami. It's not as though he was terrible at his time in Miami, same as Baker was not terrible in Cleveland by any means. So it's a very good comparison for the viewers who are potentially been around long enough to remember we a couple streams ago called Baker Mayfield a cool Ryan Tannehill. That was a comparison that was made earlier in the episode log. So yeah, I think it's a fair comparison for sure.
And for people who are gonna be like, Ryan Tannehill, ew. If you get a quarterback that's giving me 33 touchdowns, 7 picks,
Yeah.
I'm having a great time. A guy who's given me 22 touchdowns and 6 picks in 2019, I'm having a great time. I mean, 2021 didn't go great. 21 touchdowns, 14 picks, still a 12-5 record, right? Still a 12-5 record. But I'm look, man, I don't need much in life. I don't. You just throw some touchdowns, don't throw a lot of picks, and I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And that's what we've been seeing from Baker this year. Again, would have warranted a comeback player of the year award, but given the circumstances, I don't think he's going to grab it, and it makes sense. As much as people may be upset about that, which I'm not upset with it. I think DeMar Hamlin does deserve the
Yeah.
award. Um, as much as people root for Baker, and that's fantastic. Hey, Baker Brigade, but and he has had a fantastic year. I just don't think comeback player of the year is in the cards this year. But that doesn't take away from Baker having the comeback that he has been having, for sure, for sure.
100%.
But yeah, man. I mean, yeah, just wanted to highlight that. Wanted to talk about Baker and the comeback that he's had. Look, people talk about Geno Smith, but you even go back to Ryan Tannehill. He had a great comeback. I thought that was a fantastic thing to see. Jared Goff's another guy, which by the way, now he's got the Lions winning the NFC North, and that's a very modern comparison too. People are not questioning Jared Goff anymore, right? They're really not. A lot of people aren't really questioning Geno Smith that much anymore, per se. Even a guy like Dak, who a lot of people were kind of questioning him a couple years ago. He's kind of come in and more so solidified his spot. And you just see that around the league where it's just guys go out there. It's kind of a doer, do it now or you're done type moment, and they go out there and they make some plays and they revive their careers. And Baker's been right up there with those guys.
Yeah, I think the Geno Smith, Jared Goff comparisons are very, very valid. I think that's the career arc or the career trajectory and arc that he's following. It's very similar. Um, People forget Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl. before he got to Detroit. He might have been the weak link of that team, but he was the starting quarterback of a team that went to a Super Bowl. Geno Smith obviously had no success in New York. Baker somewhere in the middle, right? Took the Browns to the playoffs, won a playoff game, ultimately lost to the Chiefs in Arrowhead. But he did have success. Kind of got a raw deal. You're not entitled to anything in the NFL or just in life. So, you know, sometimes the world isn't fair. But he did kind of get a raw deal. And on his second opportunity, his second like legitimate, fair, total, clean the slate, wipe the clear opportunity, he's made the most of it.
Yeah, it's been fantastic to see, man. It really has been. So, career renaissance for Baker Mayfield. We love it. We love it here.